So this is the third revising video, and in this video we're going to talk about using powerful verbs and adjectives. And again, this is the revisions that happen after you have finished your first draft and you've got the structure in place and you've worked on some elaboration and some fine-tuning of your sentences. You can now zero in and look specifically at the kinds of verbs and adjectives that you're using and dropping unnecessary adverbs. Some verbs are better than others, so when you're revising, the one thing that you want to do is go through your draft and underline or highlight all of the verbs and give them the vanilla test. And the vanilla test is to see basically if they're too bland. Everybody likes vanilla ice cream. Vanilla ice cream is one of the best selling kinds of ice creams, but basically it's a pretty bland, pretty tame flavor. And what you're looking for in a verb is something less vanilla and a little more spicy to pull your reader in. So if you find that your verbs are too vanilla, or if you're using adverbs to spice up a verb, use a thesaurus to find a more spicy verb and avoid using the same spicy verb twice. So here are some examples. So this first example is not so good. When the character goes to talk to his father, he feels completely and totally angry. So talk is a fairly vanilla word. There are much more interesting words that you can use to say, to express communication. And the adverbs completely and totally are absolutely unnecessary. You just don't need them. So you are trying to express completely and totally angry here. You want to express extreme anger. There are better verbs to do it. You can drop these two unnecessary adverbs and use a stronger verb. So here's a better. When the character confronts his father, talk is fairly vanilla, confront much more spicy. He is enraged, which is a much more powerful verb, and then of course you don't need the words completely and totally. And again, another example, not so good, is the character was using a good strategy, which is how the reader can clearly and easily see his change. Clearly and easily are unnecessary adverbs to try to spice up this very bland word see. Good, of course, is very vanilla, and change is very vanilla. Let's see how you can improve on that. The character was using a clever strategy, which is how the reader can identify, much more spicy, his transformation, which is a much spicier word than change. Now, let's take a look at how this looks in my sample draft. So here I am in my sample draft, and I highlighted just not all the verbs or adjectives. I just highlighted a few to demonstrate. So this word shows, changes, is, stay, really, controlling, and angry. These are just some of the words that I could be highlighting, not all of them, but I was just going to go through a few to give you some examples. So shows, better words might be demonstrates, how Percy changes. Again, very, very vanilla word. And this one you got to be careful with too, because this is part of our thesis statement, so we're using this idea change all the time. So you want to say that word in as many different ways as you possibly can. So we use transform often. I'm going to try maybe evolves. Evolves. Okay. Is one of those verbs that people often skip over and can be something that you can actually really spice up. It's a very small verb, it's a being verb, but I'm going to highlight it here and I'm going to replace it with appears. Makes it a little bit spicier. Particularly with being able to stay, to remain, a little fancier word. And this word right here, really, it shows that Percy is really unable to control himself or his temper. I'm going to get rid of really, because really is one of those unnecessary adverbs. Unable is going to work just fine on its own in this particular case, so I'm just going to remove that unnecessary adverb. Controlling is a fairly good word, but I could actually come up with something stronger to really show that his temper has completely taken hold of him. So I might say something like commanding him. Okay, so let's suppose that I couldn't think up a word, a substitute word for angry, which is a fairly vanilla word. I would go to Tools and hit Thesaurus, and then my thesaurus comes up, and I can choose from any one of these words. He's so, ooh, livid. I like that one. I'm going to put livid in there and insert, and there's livid in place of angry. So you do have a built-in thesaurus that you want to make sure that you take advantage of, and obviously if you can't use the one online, there are plenty of thesauruses in my classroom that you can use at the back of the room. So that's an example of how to go through, highlight your verbs. You can do it on a draft with a physical highlighter, or you can do it the way that I did it in the draft with a highlighting tool. Either way, go through that and then try to find replacement words that will spice up your prose, that will spice up your text and make it really jump off the page. So that is part 3 of revising. So try that and see how it works for you.